Welcome to Jason on English. Let's look at Proverbs. Proverb review number 1. I'm going to tell you a little story. I want you to think about a proverb that matches the story. All of the proverbs were covered in our previous Proverbs lessons. If you miss any proverbs, please review those lessons. Try to keep the proverbs fresh in your mind. What is the best proverb? Bob was driving in the countryside when a small stone hit his windshield. At home, Bob found a very small chip in the glass on the passenger side. It was small and not in his view while driving, but Bob went to a repair shop the next day to have it checked. He was worried that it would grow bigger. It was better to fix it while it was small. Can you think of a proverb that matches this story? Any ideas? Here's a hint for one that might match. Blah, 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 blah saves 9. Do you know this proverb? What's the beginning? The answer? A stitch in time saves 9. Next story. Jim had plans to go camping. It was his first time driving to that camping area. He was worried about getting lost. Jim knew that he could use the map app on his smartphone, but he decided to take a paper map as well and plan out his route beforehand. There might not be a good smartphone signal outside of the city. Can you think of a proverb that matches this story? Any ideas? Here's a hint for one answer. Blah, 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 then sorry. Do you know this proverb? Do you know the beginning? The answer is better safe than sorry. Next story. Anne decided to host a Christmas party for everyone in her large family. Each guest was to bring a gift for a gift exchange, so Anne needed to set up a huge tree to put everything under. She also had to decorate the tree and put up colorful lights around the room. The day before the event, 2 of her sisters came to help her. It took no time at all. What's a proverb that matches this story? Here's a hint. Blah, 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 make light work. Any ideas? Do you know the beginning? Here's the answer. Many hands make light work. Next story. Bob never maintained his car. It always made strange noises when he drove it, and it leaked oil. One day, Bob's neighbor had to call a tow truck to take his car for repairs. Bob laughed and told his neighbor to take better care of his car. The neighbor was very angry. What's a proverb that matches this story? Here's a hint. Blah, 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 shouldn't throw stones. Do you know the beginning? Here's the answer. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Next story. Jim was going to go hiking the next day. He checked the forecast, which called for sunny weather and high temperatures. Jim also decided to check the average temperature at the top of the mountain. The information said the top of the mountain was usually very cold. After considering everything, Bob wore a t-shirt with sunscreen, but carried a sweater in his backpack. He was ready for anything. What's a proverb that matches this story? Do you have any ideas? Here's a hint. Blah, 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 blah is forearmed. Do you know this one? Here's the answer. Forewarned is forearmed. Next story. Anne thought that her brother had a new girlfriend. When her brother was out, Anne went into his bedroom secretly. She looked in his desk drawers, under his mattress, and all around his room. Finally, she started looking in his school bag. Suddenly, her brother came in and caught her. He was very angry. He told their mother, and Anne was punished. What's a good proverb for this story? Here's a hint. Blah, 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 blah killed the cat. Do you know the beginning? Here's the answer. Curiosity killed the cat. Next story. Bob was the manager of a small office. He had 3 workers under him. One day, one worker was 5 minutes late due to traffic. Bob didn't get angry or scold the worker. It was an accident, and 5 minutes was not very long. There was no reason to get upset over such a small problem. What's a proverb for this story? Here's a hint. Blah, 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 out of a molehill. Do you remember this proverb? What's the beginning? The answer is, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. Next story. Jim decided to bake some cookies as a treat for his kids. The recipe needed 4 eggs, and Jim had exactly 4 eggs in the fridge. When Jim was preparing the ingredients and putting them on the counter, he accidentally dropped 1 egg and it broke on the floor. Jim quickly cleaned up the broken egg and adjusted the recipe for 3 eggs. How about this story? Can you think of a proverb? Here's a hint. Blah, 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 over spilled milk. You know the beginning? The answer is, it's no use crying over spilled milk. Next story. Anne liked spending time alone. She would usually read in her room or make jigsaw puzzles. If her family or friends invited her to do something, she always said no. When Anne went to university, she lived by herself, far away from her hometown. Every time she came home to visit, she wanted to meet her friends and family as much as possible. Do you know a proverb that matches this story? Here's a hint for one proverb. Blah, blah, blah makes the heart grow fonder. Do you know the beginning? The answer is, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Next story. Bob's parents loved drinking and having parties. Every weekend they had friends over and drank wine and laughed together all night. When Bob went to university, he started living alone. His parents told him to study hard and not spend time drinking or having parties. Bob was a little angry and told them that their comment was unfair. What's a good proverb for this story? Here's a hint. Blah, 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 what you preach. The answer is, practice what you preach. If you missed any of these proverbs, please review the Proverbs lessons on this channel. There are 6 proverb lessons plus some tests, totally covering 30 different proverbs. This review test checks 10 of the proverbs you can practice in the other videos on this channel. When you're speaking, remember proverbs are set phrases. You have to remember the entire sentence completely. However, when you're listening, you might notice that native speakers often say the first part of the proverb only. This is because the proverbs are very famous and native speakers already know the ending. So the beginning is a hint. It's enough. Thank you for watching.